Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Alex of Apocalypse.Intelligence, and I am here to tell you that although the schemers do their plans, Allah also does his plans, and Allah is the best of planners. So, looking back on my profiles, instead of deleting things that are inaccurate, I realized great realization here. Every single bit of false, libelous, slanderous intelligence that I received from SIS over the past 6 months is now evidence of all the wrongdoing that they have performed against myself, my my peer, and his peer. Every single word against Dr. Arash Naraki, every single word against Dr. Abdul Karim Sarouche, and then afterwards the confessions of, you know, intentionally spoofing the three of us to each other, intentionally creating divisions, intentionally trying to manufacture Persian biot and institutionalize it and making it a commodity through Cambridge. I mean, this is above my pay grade, guys. However, I fully submit all evidences to whatever applicable agency. Of course, Langley CIA has access to see anybody's stuff, and they don't even need my authorization, but I've already, asked them to look it up through our back end channels. But I suppose this is my public admittance that I have allowed that. Um, this is what they mean when they say that, something terrible could have a gift within it. It was meant to make me look like the bad guy. It was meant me to make me look like, but I didn't write those reports myself. I printed the reports that I was given. And you can't shoot the messenger. They've proven to be false, and here I am admitting that they're false. And I'm relieved that they're false. Because we found who has been causing these tortures over all these years of, somebody pretending to be suicidal and creating 1,000 profiles and pretending to be somebody else to hide their own alcohol problem, who isn't even in this country. I'm not upset about what's happening in Britain right now. I can comment on it without emotion. I'm relieved about what's happening here in the United States because of the exposure of the bad acts of what's happened in Britain. We work on restoring the connections that have been broken by bad actors with bad intentions for the purpose of seeking wealth, fame, and power. And honestly, if this has proven anything, it's proven that, God truly is the best of planners. I'm not concerned about my safety or welfare because here I could directly point and say, here's where I got this information. Here's where these reports came from. These reports were intentionally false to create a division between myself and a loved one. Wow, what a waste of time, money, and effort. What an absolutely stupid, shallow, petty, and psychopathic thing to do. To interfere with somebody else's family. To intentionally, keep biological family members apart. Astaghfirullah. It's not somebody's words that make them a believer. Although, Ashhadu Allah, ilaha illallah, Ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah, those words make you a believer. But it doesn't matter how prettily you can parrot Islam. When behind closed doors, you're dissecting it and causing torture to people and then pretending to yourself that you're making saints. No, you're not. You're not making anything. All you're making is further passages in future history books, which are being written right now. So, yeah. Way to get rid of moderate Islam for extremist Islam. So we have people who are dismembering isolating, gaslighting, scapegoating the true moderate Islamic academics, those of us that blend into modern culture, that we don't do dawah to convert people to our side because we see all of Islam as toxic. We see the worst of it. And, we see it as our burden that we are Muslims. Not that it's a burden to worship Allah, but it's a burden to be Muslim, to be surrounded by other Muslims. The misogyny, the violence, the duplicity, the hiding of harms. When you're a moderate, that's humiliating. And then, to find those very same people that cast us out and claim that we are not Muslim, that we're not Muslim enough, are the ones who are the same people doing handshake back deals to try and disenfranchise the people that are reasonable, to promote their own form of turban wearing, hijab mandatory, men and women separated, Margaret Atwood nightmare that is more restrictive than any prison. And those organizations are so threatened by people like me and a couple of college professors and a couple of, intelligence educators, that they'll create entire campaigns of misinformation to target us with bad supervision and to feed us lies, not for the purpose of uniting the Ummah, but for the purpose of persecuting it. When I say that I found Dajjal, when I was saying that in Persian, I think I meant that literally. And I'm not saying I'm schizophrenic or anything like that. This isn't a delusion. I'm just saying that if you look at the concept of the Dajjal, of the misleader, of, the Antichrist, of someone who promises good and delivers nothing but evil, that people follow without question. The thing is that people see these archetypes and they choose in their hearts that they want to live up to it. I go by a lot of nicknames, that sort of thing. Those are all things that I want to embody. That's why I'm very careful about what I'm called. Every name that you guys call me, I love it. If you come up with a new one, as long as the name is out of love, I love it. The name Marcosius was given to me by Dan. I love it. When I call myself Shamsi in my writing, that was given to me by one of my teachers. I love that name. I've been called as Alexander or Iskander, Iskandaria so many different times. I love it. They're all names from people that I love. But there are people who choose names based on hating themselves. And there's people who don't choose the names. They just embody it in their actions. But Allah is merciful. Reality is multiphasic. At any time, a new reality can be created from this present with change and different decisions. So this time, my different decision is going forward with a clear head, not being ashamed of what I did not know, apologizing for what I did wrong, and now absolutely working on repair and making sure that something like this never happens to any other person, group, or family. Nobody's an experiment. There's no people that are less valuable in the eyes of God than others. There's no race, culture, or people that is less valuable. Just because you're British, it doesn't mean that you have ownership over people that are not British. Especially when you mislead us into believing that we're serving your cause and that your cause is one that we'd actually want to serve. Evidently, that's not the case. There's many people in SIS that I have good relationships with, that I respect highly. But how can I respect an organization that sees torture as a valid methodology over dialogue? So with that being said, I hope that there could be repair in the future, but that is up to God. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May Allah lead us all to the straight pathway. May He repair what has been broken by men. And if it cannot be broken, then may the pain or loss of it not trouble us any further. Ameen.